So I'm grateful to be here tonight. Thank you very much. I'm working with Shellen to kind of spread awareness of Supermums in the States and what we stand for and what we do. So tonight is just really to share a little bit about the work that we do to empower Salesforce individuals. Hopefully I will be empowered at the end of this session. So I'd love for you to at least have one takeaway that you'll action. And I'd love for you to connect with me on LinkedIn and to tell me what you did and whether it had an impact or not. So there's a little bit of an accountability there. I like to hear that people have taken action. So so grab a pencil and a pad and pen, because I think there's quite a lot in this. It's going to be recorded, so you can go back through it as well in your own time. Can everybody see my screen okay? Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I'll just introduce myself and to how I got into Salesforce. So back in 2006, I trained as a coach and set up a coaching business, particularly to support young people to set up their own businesses and to pursue their careers. So we did career and business coaching. And I ended up really growing very quickly. We went to between 40 million pounds of revenue within basically 3 years. So I had to find a system, so I ended up using Salesforce to manage my coaching company and all the people who were supporting, and that pivoted my career to really get involved in Salesforce. And I think with the business coaching was very much around helping people develop their business strategies and helping them think through what they needed for their business. And that's what I realised Salesforce was. I realised actually when you do an implementation of Salesforce, what you're doing is helping them redefine their business processes and their strategy. And so my business coaching skills and everything I did there was immediately transferable into the Salesforce ecosystem. And so I decided I was going to set up and become a sales consultant, work with people on growing their businesses that way. And that led me to set up a consultancy. So I've got Economic Change, which is my Salesforce consultancy. I've got a team of 20 now that work with me on that. We specifically focus on non-profits. And then I set up Supermums.
Sorry to interrupt. You are breaking up for me a little bit.
Am I? Okay.
Yeah, same here. It's very choppy.
Wow, that's weird. I've got my big microphone as well. You can see this.
Now it sounds better actually for some reason.
I put it here somewhere. It's weird that it's chopping up. It's normally okay. Let's move it a bit closer. Is that any better?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so I set up the Salesforce consultancy and I've grown that to 20 people. And off the back of the consultancy, I really had a passion to help women to upskill and enter the Salesforce ecosystem, because I believe it can really offer the flexibility and well-paid career that many mums seek but don't know where to find it quite often. And I set off on a mission to really shout out about the opportunities in the Salesforce ecosystem and to encourage more mums to transfer careers. I think the sector has a real need for new talent, and we need to educate people about the opportunities and help attract more people to where we are. So the Supermums has been going now for just over 3 years. We've got courses in the States and in the UK, and we've had over 260 trainees go through the programme, which is amazing to see, considering I started the course with 3 trainees and a vision, and we are where we are today. It's absolutely amazing. So it's really rewarding. I really enjoy helping people every day. I've gone through my career, started out as an admin of my own system in the business I was running at the time, and then transitioned to a Salesforce consultant. And then when I grew the team, I oversaw the delivery team. I did business development, and then I went into marketing role, and now I'm doing training. So I've had a whole range of different roles within the ecosystem, even though I manage technically 3 businesses now in the space with 30 staff. And during that journey, I've learned an awful lot around what makes a good sort of CRM solution. I've overseen over 500 projects with my team. I found very much the journey of, yes, you can learn all the Salesforce technical knowledge, absolutely, that's really important, but the other fundamental skill sets for me, particularly when I'm advising and consulting clients, has been around business analysis, project management and change management, and my coaching skills all came into that. So I'm bringing sort of my wealth of knowledge really to the presentation today, and what I've learned along the way. So I hope that gives you a bit of confidence of where I've been, the pain points. It's been sort of an interesting journey and learned a lot of things along the way. So I have packaged, there is more learning, which this link was shared, I believe, on the post where I saw it advertised with the presentation tonight. So there's a lot more content off the back of this, which we don't have time to delve into. So I've put together like a mini short course, which is just a series of videos that goes into the content that we're doing tonight in much more detail. So please do take a look at those and access that additional learning if you like what you hear. Just to talk a little bit about Supermums, we very much empower mums into Salesforce, and some of the things I'm sharing with you tonight are coaching skills and tools, and it's something very much we embed within our programs. And I run a coaching course called Accelerate Your Success. So that's some of the principles that we're doing tonight is off the back of that. We also provide training in administration, marketing cloud and consultancy skills. So we train up people at different levels in their career. And also you might be interested in volunteering for Supermums. So we have people that volunteer to become mentors, as trainers and ambassadors of what we do, as well as companies that sponsor us or hire from us as well. So we're really growing the base in the US. We launched at Dreamforce last year in Salesforce Tower, which was absolutely awesome. And so it's a shame that we won't be there again this year because Dreamforce is cancelled physically. So it's been a fantastic ride, and we've got Brooke, who's based out of Las Vegas, and Shellen in the States, who coordinate things there. So that's a little bit about my background. So I'll get into the content now. So have your pad and pen ready. And I'm going to be talking about thriving in a Salesforce career. I'm going to do a deep dive into 4 areas, one being defining your career ambitions, the second, staple consultancy skills, the third, raising your profile, and the fourth, CV and interview tips. And the key thing is, as I say, do take action from this, because I know, and I'm party to this, we can go on training courses and learn things and go, oh yeah, it was really good, and then get on with everything the next day and not do it. So carve out some time in your diary to reflect on some of the things we're talking about today, and take a step, do something that you think will be useful for you. So let's talk about defining your career ambitions. So the first thing is like exploring your potential. And as I mentioned in my introduction, I've done a whole range of roles within the Salesforce space now. And what I'd encourage you to do is, I see Salesforce as a career for life. There's so many different industries that you could specialize in, different products you could work within, and sort of get a whole variety of different job roles as well. So from business analyst to project management to consultant to admin, to overseeing program director roles to technical roles. Literally, like, your world is your oyster with job opportunities. So there's no reason to get bored. You've got lots of opportunity out there. And one of the things that I started out from a young age, really from university, is I wrote to people and said, could I shadow them and see what those different job roles are? And I to this day, one of the best things I did was going and shadow and got invited into a company, and I shadowed people in their different roles every day. And it really helped me figure out my next step to go down in that job where I wanted to go next. And so don't be scared to explore your potential. If you don't know what's out there, go and find out. Go and write to people and ask if you can shadow them to see, actually, would I fancy this job or not? Or listen to podcasts or events or webinars and listen to what different people's job roles are, or read case studies. But don't get stagnant and don't get bored, because I think the Salesforce ecosystem does really allow such a diversity of opportunity, so many different products now. It's mind-blowing. It's a bit overwhelming in some instances, but the thing is just to think that you've got your lifetime to learn about Salesforce and all the different things. So just keep tackling one thing at a time and keep working towards it. And if something doesn't feel right, then change it. And a classic example of that is one of the Supermums that came to work for my consultancy. She started out as an admin, then she became a consultant, and then she got pregnant, and she's like, you know what, my brain just isn't going to be, I'm just not going to be able to do consultancy while I'm pregnant. I don't want that level of intensity, and so she switched to do business development. Had never done sales before, was absolutely fantastic at it, and she's now just come back off maternity leave and is doing sales. So there's also looking at different times in your life and when you might need to switch and change career options. So explore your potential and create a vision for where you might go in your career. The second thing to do is then create a vision for change. And one of the coaching tools that we teach on the Supermums program is the GROW model. And it's a typical well-known coaching planning tool. So G stands for your goals. So first define what your goals are going to be. R stands for reality. So that's writing down what your current reality now, which can actually take your breath away sometimes and can be a little bit emotional because maybe you're not facing up to what your reality is. We do some exercises around looking at your values, whether you're meeting your values, whether you're meeting your needs in your life right now, looking at your life overall, and just really reflecting on actually where am I and how happy am I, how satisfied am I. And then we sort of move you forward around, well, what are your options to move forward here? Is it going for a walk beyond the bin outside, going from Deborah's point? Where is it that you need to exercise more? What is it that you need to do? And then the W is you will do. So what are you going to move forward? And one of the things that we encourage you to do off the back of planning out what you can do is do a journal every day. To actually write down what have you done that day to work towards your goals. It allows you to reflect back on your goals, and also to think about what you're thankful for. So it was nice to do that gratitude exercise earlier. So that's the sort of second bit, is write out your plan. And with my coach, I have a coach, and I've always had different coaches throughout my career, not all the time, but at different points where I've needed it. I now work with a coach every quarter and reset and redefine my goals. And I do that with my team as well. I get them to go, okay, well, here's the vision. What have you achieved last quarter? What are you going to do the next quarter? And normally I rearrange my diary every quarter because I see things that perhaps aren't quite working, or I've got other priorities, and I will make a shift. So do that regular planning. Don't keep it all whirling around in your head, which doesn't really sort of produce a really clear action plan and accountability, give you that accountability to move forward. And the bit that ties in with that, as I've sort of briefly mentioned, is about having a life you love. So it is about fine-tuning and not just looking at your career, but looking at all your other relationships in your life with your friends, your kids, your partner, how you feel about your health. So it is about creating balance, and that vision for change should encompass that challenge, that balance, and allow you to really consider that. And that's going to be part of your success, because if you're off balance and you're not meeting your needs in other parts of your life, you're not going to perform professionally. It's guaranteed. So you've got to get that balance right. And we use an exercise called the Wheel of Life, for example, to kind of really dig into what's going on for you there and those areas. So that's another tool that we use and you can look up. And then the fourth section we've got on here on this topic is about creating your success. And at the end of the day, it's in your hands to create success. And on this topic, it was quite interesting actually. This guy who sort of follows me on LinkedIn, but he reached out to me saying, "Oh, well, I'm really struggling with the job market, and I've been in Salesforce for 10 odd years, and like blah blah blah. They've got, there's more younger people and those certs." And I said, "Well, how many certs have you got?" He said, "I've got none." I was like, "Okay, so you need to get certifications. Like, if you're struggling to get an interview right now, but you say you've got 10 years experience, then, take pride and get the certifications, because that's what people respect." So, I think people perhaps see or know what they need to do, but it's taking that action to do it. So develop the skills. I've invested an awful lot of money in my professional training, but it's made me confident, experienced, and I feel professional to do the job that I do. Because in a consultancy, we have to pitch for work every day, and we'll win 50% of it, we'll lose 50% of it. And so we get rejected, of course we do, and we're like, why is that? But I wanted to make sure before I pitched for work that I had the right skill sets to feel really confident that I was the right person for that job, and absolutely wholeheartedly think, yes, I can do this job, and I think you should choose me because I've got these skills. So I've invested in my skills. I've actively developed my network. We'll actively network, reach out, ask to speak at events like this, because I want to build up my reputation and my profile as somebody that can help other people in the ecosystem, and share the knowledge that I've learned. So each of you can create your own success. Nobody gets given success. You have to go out there and do that. And I wholeheartedly believe that if you invest in something, then it will bring the returns from it. So we'll talk about how you can do that, and maybe the things you need to go focus on as part of the next deck of the slides. So that's about creating a clear vision. So I believe if you have a clear plan, then you can make it happen. Because if you don't have a roadmap, there's no compass of where to go, and it's not mapped out, the likelihood is you won't get to where you want to be. So have a roadmap to make it happen. Now I'm going to talk about this staple consultancy skills now, because these are very much complementary skills that I believe every Salesforce admin and consultant should have, from my experience. The technical skills alone don't necessarily give you the skill set to facilitate all the end users and the customers and the executive sponsorship team, and make that project a success. And I've invested in these courses because, having gone through that journey, I didn't do them all from day one. What I did is started going out there and consulting, and realized I didn't have the skill set or the knowledge to necessarily master everything. So I quickly started to sort of get these qualifications on board to make me feel like I had the right appropriate skill set in place in order to consult on a Salesforce implementation that was end to end. So the first sort of area is around business analysis skills, and it is a discipline in its own right. The business analysis diploma that I went on originally had a course on process mapping, a course on requirements logging, a course on business case, and it really just gives you that fundamental skill set to go, well, how do I gather requirements? And the one tip that people will always say to you, what is the one tip that you give to somebody starting out in the Salesforce career? It's like, question, question, question. Ask questions. Don't just give solutions. And so you've got to know how to ask questions and how to gather that information, document it properly, and then turn that into a transferable technical solution. So understand business analysis skills is the first thing. And if you do that properly, you'll get high user adoption. Because what you want to do, my favorite buzzwords are, when you do business analysis, you want to excite them and enthuse them to be engaged with Salesforce by the time you get there. So there's a whole way of the way that you communicate and the way that you do visualization with them, that you sort of create this whole buzz around where they're going, and you gain their trust throughout that process. So business analysis goes in hand in hand with change management and also coaching skills. All of these are fundamentally really important communication skills. So change management course I did because I was finding myself in rooms facilitating workshops with people who were quite negative about the change that was going to come about. And that would really sometimes just take over the workshop and dampen it down. I was like, God, how do I solve this? Because I'm like, oh, Salesforce is so brilliant. Like, why can you not love it? I was kind of like, well, how do I bring people around? And I realized that I needed to learn more about change management, like what the theories were, what the approaches were. And I have to say that course is the thing that's blown me away the most, that I absolutely love. And I love teaching this content now through our Supermums Consultancy skills course. But it's all about emotional intelligence with change management. It's about understanding where people are on their journey with this whole change. Some people are going to be very upset about it, some will be very anxious about it, some will be sleepers, what we call them, like they'll be a bit passive about it, and then you'll get those that are excited. So how do you move all of those 4 people onto a journey? Then there's you would take a different approach depending on the culture of the organization and also the different people that you're working with, and really sort of think about that logically. And that's what I loved about change management course, is how you can really put in place a strategy and how you can embed in your communication and approach a way of getting high user adoption. It's a discipline in its own right that isn't, I think this is the least well-known one of Salesforce professionals. But it's fantastic stuff. Like, you know, learn it, do it. It's a great thing to have on your CV, and it's a great thing to feel confident about, because there's something, if you've got people who are sticklers and are upset or anxious and try and hijack your project, because effectively that's what they're probably going to do, it's the one to get your head around. The third one is agile project management, and agile was always has always been sort of talked about as the way to do digital projects. It was introduced because the typical waterfall project management approach didn't really work that well. And so with agile project management, it really is getting your head around and being able to communicate clearly what that means to a client, and that it's very much focused on budget and time, but the requirements are prioritized, and they may not get all the requirements that they want, because Salesforce is a never-ending feast of lovely, beautiful technical solutions that always seems to exceed a budget. You know, their list is as long as their arm, particularly when they start to find out about all these things that it can do in the design workshops. So being able to hold projects and to feel like you've got that authority to advise and to consult and to manage an agile project management, I feel that, and I've seen this in the consultants I hire, they have to have done that course, and they have to have really felt that authority and confidence to manage a project in that way, because clients will always perhaps try and get one over with you if they think that, you know, well, what do you mean I won't get these requirements? I thought I could get everything in this budget. And you're like, well, no, hang on a minute. We went through this and we've prioritized these areas, and that's what we're going to get in the budget. So it's the main project management methodology. But I would definitely say if you're going to manage in an agile way, it warrants learning it properly and knowing how to manage a client around it, so they don't try and get fussy with you. And then the fourth area is around coaching skills, and as I mentioned about my background, I actually found that the coaching skills were really transferable within this space, because what I do is, you know, coach people to redefine the way they're working, help them think through their KPIs and what was important for their business, help them think about the sort of the new processes, the new team structures they might have. And so I do that as a consultant. You know, I help them think through a new way of working, and empower them to think about a new way of working rather than tell them, because as a consultant you can't go in and tell people how to do things. You can't tell a marketing team how to run a marketing process, but what you can do is coach and guide them through a new way and a new vision using new technology. And so it's very much about influencing them, very much about communicating and engaging with them in a different way, that you help them see the vision and then get them on your side of the fence to see a new way of the world that they'd probably never really envisioned before. So these are the 4 skill sets that I'd really recommend that a Salesforce professional has if they're going to be engaging with end users, whether you're in-house or as a consultant. So let's talk a little bit about raising your profile now. Any questions so far on those points? Just have a pause for a moment. Nothing's come up right now, no worries. So let's talk about raising your profile. So going back to that slide about your vision and your goals, where is it that you want to be, and what is it that you want to be known for? And I think, you know, I like obviously championing women because I think we need to raise our profile more. We need more women in tech. We need to share our stories. We need to help each other and get more of that peer support. And also it can help tackle the gender pay gap if we demonstrate, you know, our expertise. And I'll just share some examples of how different people have raised their profile to kind of bring this into light. So I have a lady on our team. She works 3 days a week, but she's the most certified out of my team, and she's specialised in marketing solutions. So even though she works 3 days a week, she's looked up to by the team. She's the go-to person for marketing. She doesn't do external speaker events or anything. She's not really into that, but she's known as the expert internally. And for me, because obviously I'm her boss, you know, I really value her. And it's important, I think, to value people. And you know, even though she, as I say, some people can see, well, she's only working 3 days a week, you know, is that valuable or not? Some people will have that lens, whereas for me, I'm like, yeah, no, absolutely, that's, you know, it's great because she's defined her niche and she's really worked on it and worked incredibly hard on her certifications beyond what she was asked to do. It's because she enjoys her job and wants to be knowledgeable in what she's doing. So I think, you know, she's gained that sort of level of profile and respect from her teammates because of that. Another example is Gemma, who founded Ladies Be Architect, and she started writing her blog because she wanted to share her exam study tips from her courses. So it wasn't like she was necessarily an expert in a product because she'd been working with it for years, but what she did want to do is help other people who were just going to start studying for the same exam as hers. And that led her to set up a whole network of other women that wanted to study the architect certifications. So you can all have the capacity to write about something that you're doing or sharing something that you're doing. We recently did a podcast with Christine Marshall. So I've just launched a podcast called Mums on Cloud 9, which I'd love you to go and listen to if you're into podcasts. But listen to Christine Marshall's talk that went live last week, because again, she was an accidental admin, worked in a sales job, then ended up implementing Sales Cloud for her sales team. Didn't know anybody else, was feeling a bit despondent, started networking, but then she launched her own blog. She volunteered to speak at a couple of Salesforce events around a particular product that she was working with on, and now she's in the VP. Again, you have that ability to do that straight from day one if you want to, just to share your experiences. We've had loads of our Supermum trainees that have shared their experience of their journey from transitioning as a teacher, in some instances actually just talking to a lady who's a teacher, you know, how they transition from a teacher into what they do now, and have told their story, and they're raising their profile in that way. So you can share your personal experiences, you can share something that you're passionate about, social. So obviously I talk a lot about women in tech because I'm passionate about that. Or you can share things professionally around something you're learning in the space. So you can raise your profile whenever you just do that. The best way to do that is to think about your favourite medium. What is the way that you'd like to share your story? So are you more into social media? Twitter is a very popular place for Salesforce. People might you choose to speak at events or with internal meetings. It might be that you want to do more press releases. Or it might be that you do some guest blogs and you try and get your blog out on some other Salesforce influencer sites. Or it might be that you just want to keep it internal, but then you start raising your profile in the workplace a little bit more. So think about your favorite platform, and if you've never before, learn how to do it. So I've never done podcasting before, but I put myself onto a course and learned about podcasting, because I was like, well, it's another way to reach women and inspire them around careers in tech. So just learn how to do it and upskill and sort of start to get your voice heard. And the biggest thing around this, yes, you can think about it from I want to do this because it'll help me raise my profile, and that might help you pursue your goals. If we look on the right hand side, is that about your growth? Is it about your progression? Is it around increasing your salary or the rewards that you might get from it? But I think the other thing is also recognise the contribution that you're giving, in that helping people really, when they give you feedback, it helps build their confidence and self-esteem. So if you listen to people and you hear their stories, or you're listening to presentations in different ways, whether it's through LinkedIn or informally through the chat, but also ask for feedback if you're doing anything. Ask people to say, what did you think of that? What was your takeaway? They might give you some that's fantastic, but seek the feedback. Don't be scared of feedback. And if you can get LinkedIn recommendations, that's great, because that's going to boost your profile on social media and help you with any job applications that you might get. So attract and connect people. If you're raising your profiles, if there's something you took away that actually helped you with your career, stay connected with people, because that's the biggest thing about Salesforce Ohana, is that we're all connected and we're all in it to help each other. And that's not a false thing, it's actually really true. And I think that's what's so lovely about how we work in this space. So appreciate that attribution and don't be scared of it, because what it will do is just keep building your profile and keep building your confidence and your self-esteem. So then you'll keep building your profile off the back of that. And that's what happened to me with the mums, because I was like, well, I don't know, people are going to love this. And then we had some first trainees and they loved it and they told their stories and that amplified. And now we've got 20 trainees for the course from the 3 that I started with. So it's just nice to get their feedback and to see how things have grown. So be proud of who you are, and take the step to kind of really, really get that out there. And in terms of being proud, it is about documenting it well and selling yourself well if you're going for interviews. And if you're going to start out as a contractor, like I did at Effective, I was pitching for work as an independent consultant. You're going to be going for a lot of interviews a lot of the time, because you're pitching for new work. Whereas if you get a job, then hopefully you'll be in a job for a while, so there might be less interviews. But these are some of the top tips I think are relevant for all. So in terms of study, you can do Trailblazer Me profile now. So get your Trailhead planner. I think employees with you are all valuing super badges and certifications that sort of hold the most rank. So build that out and you can build your portfolio on there. But I think that sort of warrants credibility is understanding how many hours people spend on CPD, because I think that really shows a true commitment to lifelong learning and self-improvement. So the thing that we encourage our Supermums to do is say, put that you've done 40 days worth of training on your CV when you do our admin course. That's really important, because other people might have done a lot less than that. So it's really important to talk about the amount of CPD you do, particularly if nobody's made you do it. You've done it off your own back. I think that speaks volumes. And tell them how you studied, because there's credibility linked to different courses and training courses that you do. Personally, somebody just learned off Trailhead, that's not as credible for me as somebody that's a practical training course where there's been a level of assessment. to some degree. I think Trailhead is brilliant because it does obviously give you a lot of content, but it can be relatively easy to skip through a lot of content and not actually remember it when it's applied. So I think having a level of study or experience where you're applying it, and that you've got somebody to give you a reference off the back of it, is what you need. And I'm going to talk about support in a minute, but that's where really a mentor comes in, and where they can oversee your work and your study, and they've verified that you're actually putting it into place in reality and you actually understand what you're doing. So talk about your study and the level of credibility that you've got with that, and who's sort of verified that you do know what you've learned. And that's why, you know, I'll say something else there actually, is there's a lot of pressure. I think people feel a lot of pressure to get all these certifications. And it's not about the number. I've only done 8 in the 10 years I've been doing Salesforce. Successfully, to know that you are competent in that solution. Because as an example, I did the Education Cloud Cert last year, hoping that we'd probably get some projects with that, which we didn't, and we didn't necessarily pursue it as actively as we should have done. But I've forgotten most of the stuff that I learned off the back of that. Yes, I've got the resemblance, but if I got a project tomorrow with that, I'd have to go back and refresh and learn everything. So quite often when you just study and you don't have a practical application, you'll forget it. And it's the reason why, and I'll move on to customer success now, is on my consultancy skills course, we cover Service Cloud and Sales Cloud. And I say to them, you have to build out a demo of all those Service Cloud features for this course, and to do a video of it as a demo, because at least they have this full solution that they're built. Help means they understand all the features, but also if they go to an interview, you can show and tell a full solution if they're asking you. And having been in a position where I interview people, when I interview people around certifications, I say, okay, so I'm going to create your service cloud now. What would you do X, Y, Z? And they stutter if they haven't got any practical knowledge, or they haven't got anything to show me. So build demos of your solutions, show and tell what you can do. And if you can do customer success stories, share that with them. Don't just talk about product features that you did, like I said, workflow rules or fields. What you want to do is tell the story of what the problems were, what the solutions were, and then what the outcomes were. And that's the big customer success story that you need to do. And if you've got those, then make sure you've got the LinkedIn recommendations off the back of them and showcase them. So that's what we have to do as Salesforce Consultancy, and we have to submit these customer success stories to Salesforce to tell them about projects that we're working on. The third area about selling yourself well is to make sure that the companies you're pitching to, your values align with theirs. So look up their values and communicate that you understand their values and that you like them because of X, Y, Z. Share your own values and what's important to you, but also communicate your needs, because I've been in this situation too. When I'm pitching for work, I'm sat there and I'm swerving a little bit because I'm thinking, actually something isn't sitting quite right here. And I'm thinking, well, really, really need the money, go for it. And I tell you what, when I go for those jobs, it always bites me in the bottom. I always think I shouldn't have gone for that work. I knew, instinct-wise, that we shouldn't have gone for that because something wasn't sitting quite right. So follow your gut instincts, communicate what you do and why it's important. And if you hear something that they say that makes you go, not sure about that, question it and make sure that you're just not selling yourself for the sake of winning the job, but you're communicating and selling yourself in a way that it's right, and they're going to work with you in the way that you would envision working. So, think about that, and however hard it may be, if your gut instinct or something doesn't sit right, it's probably best to step away from it. The fourth bit on this values element is about share how you do help others. So if you're writing blog posts, you're speaking at events, share that with people, because I think people really value those levels of contributions. And the final bit is support. So make sure you've got a support network around you. So you've obviously got this network, it's great to see so many local people come into this user group tonight, so that's your network. But equally, you can find a mentor you can go to for more professional technical experience, who can guide you and help you maybe on a regular or more ad hoc basis. So reach out and find a mentor. We pair people with mentors on our programme to quality assure their work and to check that they're doing it right and to be able to give them a recommendation. So think about a mentor in that capacity as well. Learn from trainers who you admire and respect, and absorb that knowledge. So find trainers that are great. And have a coach. I mentioned that coaching programme tonight. That's obviously one option. But I found coaches invaluable all the way through to help me be accountable, to help me think through what I'm doing, think through what's important, challenge me on, I'll say that sometimes you can be lazy and not really know you're being lazy, or putting barriers up. I can't do this because of this. And actually a coach really brings it out in front of you and says, really? I do you think that? Or challenge you to take action and stop sort of making excuses. So get a support network around you to help you really move forward. If you feel like you're procrastinating or you need somebody to give yourself a kick up the bum, build that around you. So overall, I'd just like you to absorb everything that you've learned in this session today. Go away and write it all down. Think about, okay, what have I learned? What are the key takeaways? I'd love for you to share those in the chat, like what's your one takeaway tonight? Any questions you've got, look to answer them. But visualise your success. Think positive. Have a passion to be successful. Believe you can be successful and action it, and you will achieve success. That's also what I'm going to leave you with at the end of this session. As I say, we've got more detailed content on all of this that I've talked about on these free courses. So they're available if you want to head over. I will put the chat in the link as well, Shall, and maybe put the link in the chat. And then this coaching program that we just launched today, actually, we do bi-weekly coaching sessions where we do a coaching tool and technique and help you reflect on things, where you're at, move forward. Also, coaching skills is a really valuable asset as well in the workplace. So it can help you with your sales project. So check that out if that's been something that is of interest to you. So we're just closing the doors on the 31st of July for that. So we're taking applications until that date on that. And if you want to check out Christina Marshall's podcast and future podcast shows, particularly if you want to explore your potential, we've got loads of great interviews with people. You can find my Mums on Proud of My podcast on iTunes or Spotify. So go check that out. And if you want to get involved with Supermums, then please do reach out to us and have a look at the website. So thank you for having me. I'd love to hear any questions you have right now, and tell me what your one takeaway is.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, part of the presentation was very, there were some sound issues. I'm not sure if it was just on my side or for everyone, but I got most of it. So many ideas. So like for anybody at any level in the career. So that was really great. I had a couple of questions, and then others can unmute and ask them. One thing you said in the beginning, when you were talking about exploring your potential, you said you can go and shadow a role. How do you do that? Because I've never heard of that before.
So I mean, with shadowing, you can do it virtually, doesn't have to be in person, but you can just reach out to a company and say, look, I'm really interested in the range of Salesforce roles, trying to figure out what the next move is for me. Could I just shadow 2 or 3 team members? And it's rare, I honestly think, that people write to companies rather than going through recruitment consultants and actually write quite a personalised letter about, you know, I really like your company because of XYZ. I'd really like to find out more. Can I just come and shadow you in your role to see what it consists of, what you do? And, you know, normally people are open for that. It's not like you're asking to be paid. You know, it's just because you want to listen and learn. And it's the one thing that I learned when I was 18 to do, and I've always got my jobs by networking and reaching out to people. I've only ever applied for one job, you know, and gone through a formal application process. So I think it's just really important to just, you know, go for it really and reach out to people.
Yeah, I had never, I've heard of like in medicine, like student shadowing doctors, but I had never thought that this could be in any field. So this is an eye-opening thing. It's very nice.
I want to say thank you so much. This has been great, and I like how you put a lot of emphasis on the values and the goals. So it's not just about, you know, getting more badges or continue to just go through every day at your work, but really visualizing and understanding where you're moving and then going back and reviewing that. And I believe you mentioned that daily writing journals. I don't do daily, but maybe even like weekly or monthly, starting with that and moving towards daily, but constantly revisiting and saying, what am I doing to move towards my goal, instead of just blindly going, you know, as you said, like having a destination, you can track a little bit better of where you're going. So I appreciate that.
Cool, you're welcome.
Heather, how do you write your journal? Do you write like pen and paper, or do you use something online?
I've got a little book that has loads of motifs of don't panic all over it. And then I have I've written like my needs and my values at the front, so I kind of remember them, because otherwise I'll do you know, what I've done previously is do the exercises and gone, oh, that was useful, and then walked away and completely forgotten about them. So actually having them front of mind in the journal so I can look at them, and then I'm not a daily one, but particularly on those days where I've thought, you know, if I'm feeling a little bit shaky, that would be the day that I will make the effort and write down, you know, what I've done towards my goals and everything in there. But if you keep writing every day, and particularly you want to build your self-esteem and confidence, it's absolutely the thing that's going to take you there.
Yeah, yeah. Especially nowadays, because we're all working from home, one day like feeling very defeated because I feel like I haven't done enough, and then I sit down and write everything. I had to groom the dog, make dinner, you know, do all those things on top of, you know, all the work. So if you make a list and then you say, I think I did do a lot today.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Any more reflections?
I think Michelle's asking a question if anybody has a resource for journaling prompts.
What do you mean, Michelle, around journaling prompts? Do you want to just share what you mean?
Yeah, just like, especially if you don't know what to write, sometimes you can get like a journal that tells you, like, well, reflect on this one thing or something. So.
Oh, okay. So the 3 things that we encourage is, how did I live out my values today? What did I accomplish today, be it small or big or whatever it is? And what am I thankful for? So they're the 3 things that we'd sort of talk about in journaling. But I mean, there could be other things, but that's the start, I guess.
Awesome. Thanks.
You're welcome.
And I recently, Michelle, I'm also like you, I guess, more of a system. Like I need guidelines to do. So when I wake up, I write free writing. So whatever's in my head to kind of get it out. And then I did create a structure, which looks kind of funny. I'll show you a little bit. So what I do, I write every day, who am I becoming? That's kind of my inspiration. Who do I want to be? Who do I want to bring to this day? And then my goals, like very high level goals. Then some kind of phrase that just pops up, whether it's inspiration, motivation. And then what I really like is to write a letter to myself. I heard that in one of the self-coaching podcasts that I've listened right in the beginning when COVID hit. And I found that it really helps me to reconnect and hearing those words that I want to hear from others, but don't know how to ask for that support. And then usually it's my to-do list by priority is the highest. And then I also incorporate a meal plan because when the COVID started, I ate way too much and all the time for a few months. So now I'm really trying to stay organized. So I'm write what I'm going to eat that day and follow. And I notice when I do that, that helps me. And then, as Heather mentioned, gratitude in the evening. So every day I finish with 3 things I'm grateful for. And that structure really helps me. So every day I rewrite the structure. But you're right, there's a lot of journals that you can purchase now that kind of walk you through similar approaches. Yeah, so it's really playing around what works for you.
I love that. That's awesome.
Well, if no one has anything else to share, then we'll let people get back to what they were doing. And some people, it's late. Oregon, it's early. For us, it's like almost dinner time. So... Okay, and then we do have something fun for next month as well. So we'll be sending out the invites for that shortly.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
Heather.
everyone. Thanks, Heather, for the
Thanks
presentation.
again, everyone. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.